Haddonfield, where nothing exciting ever happened.
Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and Michael Myers. Boy, does it feel good to say that again. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at Halloween Kills. The divisive middle segment of this new trilogy takes place immediately after the events of Michael's assault on the Strode family. Myers manages to escape his fiery demise and continues to slaughter many residents of Haddonfield who have banded together to take down their town's infamous boogeyman. Kills was once again directed by David Gordon Green, who directed Halloween 2018, the upcoming Halloween Ends, and the upcoming Exorcist sequel. Once Halloween 2018 proved to be a success, Blumhouse quickly gave Green and his writing team the go-ahead to turn this shit into a trilogy. He once again co-wrote the story with Danny McBride, and this time they were joined by Scott Teems of Firestarter and The Quarry. Most of the surviving characters and their previous actors return, with Queen Jamie Lee as Laurie, Judy Greer as Karen, Andy Matichak as Allison, Will Patton as the somehow still alive Hawkins, Dylan Arnold as Cameron, and James Jude Courtney as Michael. Kills also really opens up the world of Haddonfield, bringing back a ton of characters from the original like Tommy Doyle, Lindsay Wallace, Sheriff Brackett, Marion Chambers, and Lonnie Elam. Green also brought in the OG Michaels actor Nick Castle to hop in for a few scenes and add some of Michael's iconic breathing. There are also some fantastic flashbacks to Michael's 1978 attacks, in which he is portrayed by stunt actor Aaron Armstrong. Those flashbacks also include the return of Dr. fucking Loomis, who is played by the film's art director Tom Jones Jr., as he just happened to bear a resemblance to Donald Pleasance. The cinematography was handled by Michael Simmons, who also shot Nerve and Halloween 2018. The fantastic score was collaborated on by John Carpenter and his son Cody and his godson Daniel Davies. Aaron Armstrong also served as the stunt coordinator for many of the fight and kill sequences, and effects artists Christopher Nelson and Vincent Van Dyke led the charge in creating the many gore effects and both versions of Michael's mask. Filming actually wrapped in 2019, but due to COVID, it couldn't premiere until 2021, which happened both in theaters and on Peacock. Despite the hybrid release, Halloween Kills was still able to bring in $132 million at the box office. This wasn't nearly as much as Halloween 2018 made, but still a huge monetary success. Critics were not as kind to Kills though, who took issue with its clunky dialogue, meandering plot, and reliance on nostalgia. It currently has a 39 and 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it does have some supporters, myself being one of them. I saw Kills in theaters when it premiered and I had a lot of fun with it, and I'll admit that the worst aspects of the film have gotten worse with more rewatches, but the good parts are still there. You should go watch my initial reaction video to it if you haven't done so, but I'll also discuss most of those thoughts here as well. But with all of that said, it's probably time we return to Haddonfield. I hope you brought some peyote, cause we're watching Halloween Kills. The movie opens with a sobering up Cameron trying to call his friend Oscar, explaining that he fucked things up with Allison last movie. Little does he know that Oscar got shish kebabbed though. That's when he just happens to notice a carcass in the road, which of course is the presumed dead Deputy Hawkins. The old bastard is somehow still alive, and he tells Cameron that Michael needs to die, and in what will be a running theme of this film, he believes it's up to him to do it. Now we jump to my favorite sequences, which take us to the aftermath of Michael's 1978 killings. A little baby Hawkins finds Michael as he is strolling through the night, and once backup arrives, they split up into pairs to search for the shape. A deputy named McCabe tells Frank he actually knew Michael as a boy before he killed his sister, and recalls that all he ever wanted to do was stare out of Judith's window to watch the Haddonfield streets. We check back in with Lonnie Elam, who you may remember as the boy Loomis harassed in the original.
Hey Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
And as the future father of Cameron. He's being harassed by some hobgoblin siblings named the Mulaney's, at least until a stray cop tells them there's a murderer on the loose. I'm very curious to see if the Mulaney's are gonna be in Halloween Ends. Like, they're so random and specific, and they get more screen time than I would have imagined. The scared boy has the shit luck of falling over just as Michael emerges, but his cowering and fear works as he's found by Hawkins and McCabe. We get our real first taste of this film's melodrama.
You didn't see him?
Take a deep breath. Who?
The boogeyman.
And McCabe realizes they are across the street from the Myers house. They find Mikey's canine victim before heading upstairs, and McCabe looks out of Judith's aforementioned window. Michael bursts in the room and starts strangling the deputy, and pays no mind as Hawkins warns that he'll shoot. He must know Frank is the worst shot in the Midwest. Deputy Dumbass just lets Michael see himself out, but as he comforts his dying partner, he hears Loomis and more backup arrive. McCabe bleeds out as the officers surround Michael, and Dr. fucking Loomis runs inside to ask Hawkins what happened.
Officer Hawkins, tell me, what happened in here? Did Michael kill again?
For one reason or another, Michael has stopped in his tracks, and this presumably is where he's arrested and sent to Smith's Grove for the next 40 years. The opening credits show off 12 bleeding jack-o'-lanterns paying their respects to every canonical and now non-canonical entry in this crazy-ass franchise. Now it's time to catch up with some old friends and new friends at a local bar's talent show. We've got Vanessa and Marcus, a medically inclined couple who we briefly met in the last movie, now grown-up Lonnie, and up next on stage is the now grown-up Tommy Doyle. Most people no longer remember the Haddonfield boogeyman, but Tommy is here to remind them, again and again and again.
Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but the boogeyman is coming for me, and he's coming for you.
He runs through the basic premise of the original, reintroducing us to Lindsay Wallace and Marion Chambers. Tommy rambles about how Haddonfield will never succumb to fear again, and the survivors toast to Laurie Strode. So 20 minutes have passed and we finally rejoin the Strode Queens, just moments after their escape from Laurie's compound. Granny Strode is bleeding bad, and they collectively scream as fire trucks head toward the blaze. The first responders make their way inside, and one unfortunate bastard falls through the floor into the basement. The dude is flabbergasted when Michael suddenly opens up the gun locker he was sheltering in, and the boogeyman proceeds to bash his face in with a Halligan bar. This guy accidentally lends Mikey a hand getting upstairs, and the rest of the men watch in terror as Michael emerges from the fire. They quickly ascertain that Michael is a total pyro and ready their weapons, but no level of skill with hoses, axes, more Halligan bars, or big-ass circular saws is enough to beat him. The Strodes arrive at the Haddonfield Hospital, where we will be spending quite a bit of time, and the former Sheriff Brackett notices their arrival. Karen and Allison take a moment to grieve their dead husband and father, and Laurie undergoes various emergency surgeries. We hop over to the house closest to Laurie's, which belongs to drone-flying graveyard groundskeeper extraordinaire Sandra, and her sleep apnea-stricken husband Phil. They notice there are no more fire trucks coming through, but a certain someone smashes the drone and tosses it back into the living room. Phil finds a big fella in a monster mask tending to his wounds, but as he retreats, he is grabbed through a window. Also, I feel like I've never seen windows in a house like that. Interesting. Michael slams the man's head into the wall a bunch of times before pulling his throat down through the broken glass. Sandra tries to make a run for it, but is caught by Michael, and she is too fear-stricken to do anything as he grabs a fluorescent bulb. He breaks it and rams it through her throat. The poor woman is still alive to watch as Michael grabs the still alive Phil and uses him to test out their entire knife collection. I assume she bleeds out as Michael leaves, and we jump back to the bar as Lonnie gets a call from Cameron while Hawkins is loaded into an ambulance. Sheriff Barker looks over Michael's rampage, and he quickly realizes the town will be out for blood. The bar suddenly gets wind of several murders in Haddonfield, and they learn that Michael and one other escaped patient are still on the loose. Marcus recognizes Julian from their neighborhood and decides they need to go home, and Lindsay and Tommy agree this must be Michael's doing. Marcus runs back inside to grab his stethoscope, leaving Vanessa alone to find someone hiding in their back seat. She tells the bar patrons Michael is in their car, and Tommy snatches a bat called Old Huckleberry from the wall.
Love lives today.
But evil dies tonight.
Get used to hearing that. The car turns on as Tommy approaches, and when he smashes the windshield, the driver flees but doesn't get very far. All they find in the car is an umbrella though, which actually belongs to the other escaped patient, a man named Lance Tivoli. We hop over to the refurbished Myers house, which now belongs to eccentric couple Big John and Little John. Their cheese and weed gets interrupted by some pranksters, but they get the last laugh with some Michael Myers ghost stories. Allison is surprised to see Hawkins is alive, and she and Karen are interviewed by Barker and Deputy Graham. Karen doesn't understand that Sartain was the one who brought Michael straight to Laurie, so she believes he broke out specifically to hunt her down and finish what he started in 78. Allison knows the truth though, telling Graham that the doctor was the only one obsessed with Laurie. Now the queens get the not so good news about Michael's survival, and Cameron reunites with Allison. He invites her to join in on Tommy Doyle's hunt, but dumbass Karen is certain Michael is on his way to the hospital, so she wants her daughter to wait in Laurie's room? Look, I'm not saying that hunting the serial killer is a good idea, but why would you want to put your daughter in the exact room you think the killer is going to come to? Allison briefly visits her grandma, pretty much just to provide her with a knife in case she needs it, but she quickly joins Tommy, Lonnie, and the other notable characters going on a Myers hunt. A group including Marion, Lindsay, Marcus, and Vanessa notice those prankster kids at a playground, and the stupid little shits share that they've been playing hide and seek with Michael. He hops on top of the car and Marion starts firing recklessly, also locking the back seats in the process. Vanessa climbs out of a broken window as Michael grabs Marion, but before they can escape, he hops in front of the driver's side door.
Hey, Michael! This is for Dr. Loomis.
Damn, Marion, get wrecked. Marcus tries to strangle him with his stethoscope, but Mikey quickly gets the upper hand and stabs him in the eye. Vanessa decides to come back, I guess, but her plan doesn't quite work out. Meanwhile, Lindsay has filled a sack with bricks, but that accomplishes absolutely nothing. She gets Michael to release her by messing up his mask, and she's actually able to evade him by hiding in some nearby woods. Laurie is finally woken up to deliver some lines, and Karen only now realizes that her daughter has dipped. Laurie doesn't know Michael is alive, and for some reason Karen decides not to tell her. Oh, hi Hawkins, good to see ya. Lonnie shares a touching story about his glory days with Ray, and they find Tommy at the playground. Ah, looks like Michael had some arts and crafts time. Lindsay is now in way worse shape than when we left her. I guess adrenaline wore down or something, but at least she's alive. Meanwhile, Laurie and Frank decide to express their long-time infatuation with each other, and he's very happy to hear Michael's dead. Tommy drops off Lindsay at the hospital, and we won't see her again until the sequel. Panic has begun to spread as people search for their loved ones, and stupid-ass Karen is still insisting that Michael is coming to the hospital. Barker tries to calm concerns, but Tommy throws fuel on the fire by warning the crowd of the impending danger, with Brackett and many others siding with his fear-mongering.
Michael Myers will be executed tonight, and it will not go without witness!
He also spills the tea to Laurie, and he swears to protect her the way she did for him when he was a boy. Laurie is down for the mob justice, but Karen lives up to her name with arguments to let the trained professionals handle the situation. Once again, I really don't think it's wise to go hunting for the serial killer, but she is just so annoying. Laurie breaks free and pumps herself full of pain meds, and she starts rambling about how it is up to her and her alone to kill Michael. To make matters worse, hurt and confused Tivoli arrives at the hospital looking for help, and the dumbass mob mistakes him for Michael. Tommy leads a horde after him, and they ridiculously start chanting this movie's slogan. We rejoin the Johns as they get a knock at the door, only to find someone broke in through the back while they were answering. The two pick up some ironic knives to hunt down their intruder, and they make the classic mistake of splitting up. The larger John is the first to fall as Michael stabs him in the armpit and squeezes his eyes out of his fucking head. I love how far they push the gore in this. Little John finds his husband's corpse and immediately recognizes his killer as Michael.
You've come home.
He is killed off screen, but we'll see a little more of him in a bit. Laurie and Karen realize it isn't Michael that's being chased, but the stupid mob is too enraged to stop and listen. Laurie hurts herself assaulting a guy, and this sadly puts her out of commission for the rest of the film. Among the chaos, Oscar's mom also finds her son's corpse. Sad stuff. Graham tries to tell Tommy they've got the wrong guy, but the morons start breaking through the police line. Laurie and Frank both express guilt over the chaos as we learn he actually stopped Loomis from executing Michael back in 1978. Now they both realize murder is the only option. Karen catches up with Tivoli and promises to protect him, but her plan is to lock him inside a small section of hallway by himself. This plan proves to be shit as the mob swarms from both sides with absolutely nobody listening to Karen's pathetic pleas. Poor Mr. Tivoli gets so tired of hearing evil dies tonight that he eats himself out of the window. In reality, this is a sad and frustrating scene as the dumbass mob cheers with vigor as the crowd below looks in terror. Brackett informs the morons that they just killed an innocent man, and Hawkins flashes back to the cover-up of McCabe's accidental shooting, which leads to the larger theme of the film.
Just because your intentions are good doesn't mean things always work out.
He finally tells the Strodes that they are wrong in believing Michael is after Laurie, explaining that Sardane attacked him and brought Myers to her home. He wonders what Michael was looking at through Judith's window, but based on everything he's seen, he believes Michael has always just tried to go home. This theory is corroborated by Lonnie, who has discovered Michael's movements are a straight line back to the Myers house. So, as any good father does, he takes his son and his girlfriend to the serial killer's house. Tommy apologizes for inciting a murderous riot, and Karen immediately enlists him to help her find Allison. Lonnie realizes how stupid his current plan is and switches it out for an even dumber one.
You fucking dummy, you brought your kid to the belly of the beast.
Dad, no.
Okay, just stay here.
He heads inside the dark, silent home, and after hearing a shot, the kids immediately disobey him and follow him inside. They find many attractions like an exploding jack-o'-lantern, the romantically posed Johns, and one more freshly killed legacy character. Michael bursts out of hiding and stabs Cameron twice in the gut, and despite a good effort from Allison, Michael effortlessly tosses her down the stairs, breaking her leg in the process. Mikey takes advantage of this captive audience and slams Cameron's head through the banister. He thrashes the boy in every direction, undoubtedly breaking ribs and vertebrae, leaving Cameron all but dead. Allison manages to get Michael's attention, but only after he finishes Cameron off with a neck snap. He prepares to stab Allison with her own knife, but cavalry arrives in the form of Karen with a pitchfork. Gonna double tap Karen? No? Just gonna kick him in the head? Don't take his mask, stab him, you idiot. I guess this is all according to plan though, as now she has leverage to get Michael out into the open. He follows her through the neighborhood into a Haddonfield ambush where Brackett, Tommy, and loads of unimportant extras are ready to party. Mikey masks up for battle, but what the mob lacks in interest, they make up for in numbers, quickly overwhelming him. He gets shot 5 times at point-blank range, and a barrage of strikes finally keep him down. Karen strolls up to deliver a seemingly final stab to his neck, but the moment is undercut by a Laurie monologue.
I always thought Michael Myers was flesh and blood, just like you and me. But a mortal man could not have survived what he's lived through.
She believes Michael has transcended into something beyond human, a living embodiment of fear that can't truly be killed. Karen heads back to find Allison, and as Brackett comes in close for a headshot, the boogeyman springs back to life, slicing the ex-sheriff's throat. He systematically butchers the entire mob one by one, with the final victim being Tommy with weird lighting and camera choices. At least old Huckleberry finally got some use. Karen sees the image of little boy Michael looking out the window, and it's almost as though she's beckoned upstairs. She stares out into the night before the shape emerges behind her, and the movie ends with her being slashed to death. See you soon, Mikey! And that's Halloween Kills. I've said it once and I'll say it again, this is a fun movie. A dumb movie, but fun nonetheless. The fight choreography is on point, and there are just some really distinct, memorable moments during Michael's attacks. There's a great mix of old and new themes, motivations, and characters, all of which are fair game for Michael to rip apart. The movie really plays with the idea of whether or not Michael's violence is truly indiscriminate and if he really has no particular victims in mind. I don't know how accurate that will be by the end of Halloween Ends, but I enjoy Michael best when he's pretty much random in his violence. The idea that someone could come into your home and kill you for no reason is exactly what made Michael so scary in the first place, and I think the films benefit the most when they keep it that simple. But even in the original, Michael took a specific interest in Laurie, and there were a lot of themes around fate and destiny, so I'm really curious to see how they wrap up this trilogy. A lot of new faces help to build out the identity of Haddonfield, and they're also the characters that felt the most human to me. The legacy characters are a bit more hit or miss, but certain ones like Lonnie add some great depth to the town as well. I'm glad we got to see his relationship with Cameron, before they were slaughtered. But generally, I feel like they successfully brought back the essence of Haddonfield itself, which I feel has been missing from this franchise for a long time now. As I said earlier though, the bad parts of this film only get worse with more rewatches. There are actually segments of the movie where I just zone out completely, and quite frankly that's whenever Michael isn't on screen or nearby. I appreciate what the writers were going for with the mass paranoia and mob justice, but all of the crappy one-liners and slogans just take all the wind out of the sails. I honestly think the Tivoli storyline could have fit into the movie, it just needed to happen way sooner than it did. That distraction should have been done with by the halfway point, not the final 20 minutes of the movie. While the new characters are a lot of fun, unfortunately a lot of the legacy characters that return actively detract from the story, and at the very best they're here pretty much just for fan service. Their presence just seems so dedicated to reminding us of their encounters with Michael in the original that the film forgets to really flesh out who they are now as adults. Tommy Doyle is the most obvious issue. He is just so draining throughout the entire story. I'm not opposed to the idea of bringing back a character and making them somewhat unlikable, but Tommy's ultimate demise undercuts what could have been a cathartic ending. The editing in his kill is just so weird, I have no idea what they were going for there. There has always been this tightrope dance between whether Michael is supernatural or human, and Halloween Kills really takes advantage of that. In 2018, there are a couple potentially supernatural moments, but Michael is mostly portrayed as a mortal man. But I actually think we watched Michael's human body die at the end of Kills, hence Karen's vision. I think his body is just a vessel for evil now, and perhaps it has been for a long time. As Laurie points out, Michael should be dead due to the wild amount of injuries he has received. This idea is a little undercut by the scene where Michael is bandaging his wounds, but evil can't just let its perfect specimen bleed out, can it? I do question the supreme importance around the mask, as though Michael really can't function without it now. Like, back in '78, he escaped Smith's Grove and killed a mechanic without the mask, and it was a different mask when he killed Judith. And he also lived at Smith's Grove for 40 years without the mask. I just don't buy that this bloodthirsty Michael would forfeit an easy victim just because he didn't have the Shatner mask. But generally, I can't come to too many conclusions yet because this is the middle part of a trilogy and I haven't seen the end. I don't think some of these issues will be resolved by the finale, but I don't know that. I need to give it a chance. I do think Halloween Kills successfully builds up the mythology built in the original in 2018, and it successfully raises the stakes for Laurie and Allison in Halloween Ends. All in all, Halloween Kills is an imbalanced film. Quite frankly, it's a hot mess, but I can't help but appreciate it. It has a distinct style, fun new characters, and some of the very best kills in the entire Halloween franchise. I do think it has dropped a spot or two in my rankings of the franchise, but I still think it's in the better half of the series. It has left me hesitantly hopeful for the finale of this trilogy, which I'll be covering once it hits streaming. But before then, we're taking a look at another classic horror that has been revisited recently. Join me next week as I give you my first thoughts on the new Hellraiser movie. I am so fucking excited for that one. My hopes are very, very high. Well, that's about it. Thank you all for joining me, and an extra thank you to my patrons. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Halloween Kills. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror reviews. And if you want to help support the channel further, you should check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks, y'all.